What's going on, my people? You know who it is. It's Ray, back again with another video. At the time of this recording, it is now 5 o'clock on Friday. So you know what that means. Tomorrow night is UFC 309. It's going to be Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the World Heavyweight Championship. I would say it's the World Undisputed Heavyweight Championship, but it's not really undisputed because, you know, if you're a UFC fan, you know that Tom Aspinall is currently the interim champion because Jon Jones took almost 2 years off for what? I don't know. I think he got injured actually, but did he really need 2 years? I don't think so. I think he was probably healed up after that first year and for whatever reason just took some more time off. So in that time, we had an interim title fight, which is what normally happens in that sort of situation. When the champion hasn't fought in so long, you need a champion, so you have to have a interim title fight. Well, what happens then is there's now two champions. So now we have Tom Aspinall, who's the interim champion, and Jon Jones, who is the world heavyweight champion. But in order to unify both belts, you have to have those two fighters, you know, fight. And you have to, that's how you find out who the undisputed champion is. But is Jon Jones scared of Tom Aspinall? That's debatable. That seems to be a big topic of debate right now among MMA fans. Me personally, I think so. I think he is ducking Tom Aspinall, but I don't think it is because he's afraid of him. I just, for whatever reason, think he doesn't want to fight Tom. Maybe he does think that there's a chance that he'll lose. That's probably what it is, honestly. But that doesn't mean he's scared of him. He's just smart. He knows that there's a chance he's going to lose to Tommy Aspinall. Let's just be real here. He's younger. He has knockout power. All that stuff. But also tonight is the Jake Paul fight. But I will be working, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to watch that. Probably going to try to catch it on my phone. But where I work, the part of town where I work, the signal's really bad because I've tried watching UFC fights there before and my signal's always so bad that I can't even watch the damn thing. So most likely my signal's gonna be bad. I'm not gonna be able to watch the fight. But comment down below if you're gonna be watching that Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight tonight, and let me know what your predictions are for that as well. Do you think Jake Paul gets it done? I think most people think Jake Paul is going to win, but me personally, I do think Mike Tyson can still get the W. I think Mike Tyson's going to put it on him. Like, he's going to come with that aggression. He's going to be landing all the heavy shots straight away. And I think it's going to be too much for Jake Paul because I don't think he's ever faced someone with that sort of intensity before. Not yet, at least. But anyways, let's get down to business. I have with me here the UFC 309 fight card. Also, shout out my boy David for this merch. This is my boy David's brand, Spotted. Shout out to him. Really like the shirt. But anyways, I have with me here the UFC 309 fight card. Now, I'm going to run down the list and give you my predictions, or also my thoughts. So, basically, it's UFC 309. The main event is Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I won't be going through the preliminaries this time. As I continue to do these videos, I will be doing the whole cards. Like when I talk about these UFC cards, I'm going to be going through the whole card, which will be the early prelims. Maybe not the early prelims, but I will be discussing the preliminaries. But this time, I'm not going to be going through the prelims. Just because I didn't really have time to go over them. I've been working a lot with this job. So, but I am going to be more prepared for the next pay-per-view, which is, there should be one in December, I think. I'm going to have to look into that and see who's actually fighting. But to be honest, the prelims weren't really that good for this pay-per-view anyways, for UFC 309. Which is what we typically see. If you're a longtime UFC fan, you know. It's the same thing, like anytime Conor McGregor fights, it's the same thing with that. So what they'll do is the main card, even the main card kind of suffers a little bit because of this. Because when you have a guy like Conor McGregor or you have a guy like John Jones, who is a mega star, right? They're a huge superstar. They draw a lot of eyes on the sports. People will pay just to see that fight. So UFC or Dana White, right? They sort of use that as, I don't know, I don't want to say excuse, but yeah, they use it as an excuse to sort of, they can make the rest of the card shitty or boring, right? They'll throw a couple boring fights in there because the rest of the card doesn't really matter as much since you have someone like John Jones. So we've always seen that with the Conor McGregor cards. If you're a UFC fan, you know that any pay-per-view with Conor McGregor on it is gonna have the rest of the fights are gonna not be as good. You know what I mean? And it's not because they aren't entertaining or things like that, but they're gonna book a bunch of people, a bunch of fighters that nobody really knows. Or I guess I should say the casual fans don't really know. I myself don't really consider myself a casual, or I wasn't, but I sort of fell off a little bit this last year in terms of like keeping up with the sport. I do still watch UFC, but I mean, even last year, I wouldn't have said that I'm a casual because I knew pretty much every fighter. But now, especially some of these fighters on here, I'm looking at here, and yes, I haven't heard of some of these guys. So I guess that does make me a casual. I wouldn't say casual, but I guess I'm getting there. But I'm trying to get a new job right now so I can stop working overnights. That way I can actually start keeping up with sports again. You know, start watching UFC and actually know, because there's a lot of new fighters, so if I can actually start watching this thing, I'll know who these people are. But anyways, let's get right down to it. So the first fight on the main card, like I said, I'm not going through the prelims because the prelims suck this time. Let's just be honest, right? The prelims aren't going to be good because it's John Jones fighting. So I'm going to go straight down the main card. First we have, I'm going to struggle with some of these names. Mauricio Rufy versus James Lontop. See, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard of either of these two guys. Mauricio Rufy versus James Lontop. All I can say about that one is, it seems like it's two young, up and coming guys. You know, it's your typical, you know, got something to prove fight. There's two guys that are very hungry, very eager to prove themselves in the UFC. But I mean, is it a very exciting fight? Is it something that people are really looking forward to? No, I don't think so. With that being said, I would say that I'll predict that Mauricio Rufy gets the win. I think he'll get the win. Moving on, we have Viviane Araujo versus Karine Silva. Hope I'm saying those names right. Viviane Araujo. I probably butchered that name. But this should be an interesting fight. You know, I think my prediction for that one will be that Viviane Araujo will lose to Karine Silva. I think that Karine gets it done. And yeah, I definitely think Silva gets the W in that one. After that, the next fight, these are where the card starts getting good, all right? So we have Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. And if you've been watching UFC, you know that Bo Nickel is a fan favorite. I mean, what else can you say about the guy? He's awesome, right? I'm a fan of him. I remember being a fan of him and Bryce Mitchell. Bryce was another guy that he was new. He was coming onto the scene. People thought he was going to do big things. And he still can. But I mean, I think the hype train kind of died down for Bryce Mitchell because he lost his last 3 fights, I think. But I mean, after he lost to Ilia Topuria, which was his first sort of, I think, major loss, is when the hype sort of died down. He just hasn't been the same. And then he gets knocked out by Josh Emmett. But as we know, Ilia Topuria, which he's now proven, is a crazy good fighter. crazy good. So I guess there's no shame in losing to Ilya. But Bo Nickel is still undefeated, I believe. So there's still hope for Bo. There's still hope for Bo. You know, we like these young stars. You know, we want them to stay undefeated. Not necessarily undefeated, but we want them to, you know, rise to the hype. We want them to prove everybody right. So Bo Nickel, he's great. He's, as you know, he's a wrestler. He's a D1 champion, I think. Well, he was definitely a champion in wrestling, but in college. But so he has great wrestling. I'm excited to see. I'm interested to see if he's going to mix any stand-up in there, you know, or if he's going to keep it strictly wrestling. But we'll find out. Honestly, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Bo Nickel fan, but my prediction for that fight is Bo Nickel will beat Paul Craig. I think he's either going to get the submission, he's going to make him tap out, or I think that he's going to just wrestle him probably and score a lot of takedowns, and that's how he's going to get the decision win over Paul Craig. So I picked Bo Nickel to beat Paul Craig. Now we have a fight that I'm very excited for, and I'm sure a lot of you are. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. This is the rematch. So it's Chandler versus Oliveira 2. And we love a good rematch, right? If you're a UFC fan, you know we love rematches. So I'm very excited for this fight. I love Charles Oliveira. I used to love Michael Chandler. I wouldn't say love, right? But when he first made his debut against Dan Hooker and knocked him out in the fashion that he did, man, that was a big moment for him. But also, it was very, you know, it was very crazy to see. You know, seeing that live just was amazing. But I kind of stopped liking Michael Chandler after the whole McGregor beef. Actually, what made me stop liking Michael Chandler was when he knocked out Tony Ferguson. I thought that was fucked up. Because I'm a big Tony Ferguson fan. So he knocked out Tony Ferguson and then he did 3 backflips to celebrate. I thought that was kind of unnecessary. Bro started emoting on him right after knocking him out. So I thought that was uncalled for. But nevertheless, I'm here to talk about this fight. So we have Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. We all know how the first fight ended, right? Charles Oliveira was on that crazy run, that lightweight run where he was just beating everybody, right? It was a legendary run. So at that time, he fought Michael Chandler, and he ended up knocking him out. I think it was either at the end of round 1 or it might have been early in round 2. But yeah, Michael Chandler was knocked out by Charles Oliveira, which is crazy because usually Charles doesn't go for the knockouts. I wouldn't really say that you can't really say that he's a fighter that has knockout power. I mean, he does, but he's not known for that. So that was very shocking to see him win in that fashion. He'll usually try to submit you, things like that. That being said, my pick for Chandler versus Oliveira 2, man, that's a hard one, honestly. Right, because you could go and say that Oliveira is going to win, but I do believe that Chandler could pull off an upset. He looks like he's in phenomenal shape. You know, he's been training for McGregor for the past 2 years, so, you know, because we all thought he was going to fight McGregor, but now it's looking like that fight's not going to happen. But he's been training for that this whole time, and he's in phenomenal shape. I really think it could go either way. It's a toss-up. But if I had to pick, I think it's hard to say that Charles wouldn't get it done again. As far as how he's going to get it done, though, that's the question. I don't think Charles Oliveira is going to be able to knock him out again. I don't think he's going to knock out Michael Chandler a second time. I think that Chandler had time to study the tapes. He's going to learn from his mistakes. He's not going to make that same mistake again. So that being said, I picked Charles Oliveira to beat Michael Chandler either through submission or possibly a decision. We'll find out later tomorrow. Last but not least, we got the main event, the thing that everybody's excited for, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. If you've been following UFC or Jon Jones' career, then you know how exciting this is. Especially because Jon Jones, he he said that he's going to retire after this fight. Then he comes out and says maybe he's going to fight Alex Pereira, which that's a great fight that a lot of people want to see. But we all know that we really want to see Tom Aspinall fight Jon Jones. But like I said in the beginning of the video, it appears as though Jon Jones has been ducking Tom Aspinall. So will he continue to duck that fight? Probably. But nevertheless, this could be Jon Jones' last fight ever in UFC. I mean, what a legendary career, and what a way to go out if he's able to defeat Stipe Miocic. Personally, I don't think that should have been his last fight, especially since Stipe is coming off of a 2-year hiatus. He hasn't fought in 2 years. So is Stipe even prepared for a fight of this magnitude? No, I'm not counting out Stipe, because I know how much of a legendary fighter he is as well. You know, I watched his fight against DC when he knocked out Daniel Cormier. Well, their trilogy, honestly, all 3 of their fights were great. I think he beat him twice and lost to DC once. But, man, I mean, it's hard to count out Stipe as well. But, I mean, I think most people would say Jon Jones gets it done. I think a lot of people are hoping that Stipe is going to win. Part of me kind of wants that too. Even though I'm a Jon Jones fan, I do think his ego is sort of getting the best of him right now. He's got a really big ego that has inflated recently, and he is the best. I mean, Dana White even says it. I agree with that too. I do think Jon Jones is the best fighter of all time. He's not my favorite fighter of all time. My favorite fighter of all time is Conor McGregor, but I do agree that Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. I just think that he's letting that get to his head, and also, I mean, there's probably other things that are contributing to his ego, but for whatever reason, he doesn't think he should give Tom Aspinall that fight. He says he hasn't earned it. He said that he's a young and up-and-coming kid that hasn't really beat any top contenders, even though he beat Sergey Pavlovich in convincing fashion. I don't get it, honestly. I really want to see that fight. I think a lot of people do. Because I think if there's one man that can beat Jon Jones, it's probably Tom Aspinall. But let's talk about Stipe versus Jon. It's going to be a great fight, honestly. It's going to be exciting start to finish, because Stipe is a wrestler as well. You know, we all know Jon Jones has impeccable wrestling, but Stipe also has great wrestling. So it's a battle of the giants, people. I mean, it's a clash of the titans. It really is. Because you have Stipe Miocic, who also has knockout power. Jon Jones, who's also great at stand-up as well. So we might see it all, folks. I mean, we might see a mixture of stand-up and wrestling. So that being said, though, like I said, I'm still going with Jon Jones. I think he gets it done. I really do. I picked Jon Jones to get it done, and it's probably going to be, I think, late in the fight, honestly. I don't think he ends it early like he did with Cyril Gane. But I do believe Jon Jones will get this done tomorrow night, and it'll probably be somewhere in the 3rd round. That's my guess. That's my prediction. Jon Jones will either knock him out or submit Stipe Miocic in the 3rd round. Well, that's all I got for you guys today, folks. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to be getting back into sports soon. I'm actually going to start watching all of these, you know, basketball games and UFC fights, so that way I can stay more informed and produce better content for y'all. And but yeah, I'm going to be making more videos like this soon. So if you like UFC, or even if you like talking, like I said, I'm working on another series where it's basically just me talking about my life, talking about mental health and things like that. That series is going to be more of like an interactive thing. It's where I want people to sort of talk to me about their stories as well. You know, it's more like a helping hand. But I'm gonna call that series The Mind of a Maniac. So that's coming soon. But I got a lot of stuff coming soon. Gonna do some more food reviews. And yeah, please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. We'll be making more UFC videos very soon. And probably a reaction to the Jake Paul fight. And plenty of other videos regarding like sports and stuff like that, combat sports. So thank you very much, and have a great day, y'all. Peace.